Syria's interim president, Ahmed Al-Sharaa, has met with Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman in the Saudi capital, Riyadh. The meeting took place on the sidelines of the 9th edition of the Future Investment Initiative Conference, commonly known as the FYI Forum. The engagement marks the most senior contact between the Syrian interim leadership and Saudi authorities since the formation of the transitional government in Damascus earlier this year. Images broadcast by Saudi state television showed Al-Sharaa seated across from the Crown Prince during formal talks attended by senior Saudi and Syrian officials. The footage carried no sound at source, as per the standard feed provided to editorial networks. The video sequence begins at timestamp 005. A wide shot captures Syria's interim president, Ahmed Al-Sharaa, during his meeting with Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. Both leaders are seated at an oval table, surrounded by aides and interpreters. The setting, decorated in traditional Saudi motifs, appears to be one of the formal reception halls within the Royal Court complex in Riyadh. At 0011, the camera pans to a group of senior Saudi officials identifiable by their formal attire and badges of the Saudi Royal Court. Among them are ministers and advisors from the Kingdom's Council of Economic and Development Affairs, which oversees the FYI's investment portfolio. The feed then returns to a mid-shot of Al-Sharaa, who is shown taking notes and listening attentively as the Crown Prince speaks. The footage concludes with wide shots of the Syrian delegation, including interim ministers of economy, reconstruction, and foreign affairs. The meeting comes amid a broader thaw in relations between Syria and Gulf states, following years of isolation during the Syrian conflict. Saudi Arabia formally reopened its embassy in Damascus in mid-2025, following earlier steps by several Arab League members to normalize ties with the interim administration established after the fall of former President Bashar al-Assad. The Future Investment Initiative, launched in 2017, has evolved into a premier platform for global economic dialogue hosted annually in Riyadh. The 2025 edition features heads of state, international investors, and technology executives from more than 90 countries. According to the FII programme schedule, Ahmed Al-Sharaa was listed as a guest of honour and a key panel participant under the theme Rebuilding Economies Beyond Conflict. Al-Sharaa assumed office as interim president of Syria following the conclusion of the transitional negotiations in early 2025 under a framework endorsed by the Arab League, United Nations, and key international stakeholders, including Russia and the United States. Since taking office, Al-Sharaa's government has prioritised economic reconstruction, stabilisation, and reintegration into regional and global markets. Official data presented during the FII sessions indicate that Syria has attracted approximately $28 billion in new investment commitments over the past 10 months. These include infrastructure rehabilitation, renewable energy projects, and agricultural development programs. At a previous session earlier in the week, Al-Sharaa told delegates that Syria's reconstruction will be transparent, sustainable, and inclusive. The statement was widely covered in Arab business media, which noted the emphasis on cooperation with Gulf investors and international institutions rather than state-to-state aid models. The Riyadh meeting reflects a continuation of Saudi Arabia's diplomatic outreach aimed at stabilising post-conflict Arab states. Over the past 2 years, the kingdom has hosted several dialogues involving Iraq, Lebanon, and Yemen, signalling a shift toward regional de-escalation and economic diplomacy. While no official communiques were immediately released following the Al-Sharaa bin Salman meeting, officials from both sides confirmed that discussions focused on economic reconstruction, humanitarian relief coordination, and regional security cooperation. Analysts note that the meeting also carries symbolic weight, representing Syria's formal return to high-level regional platforms after more than a decade of exclusion. The FYI's 9th edition was centred on investing in humanity, the next frontier. Sessions throughout the week addressed topics ranging from artificial intelligence and renewable energy to reconstruction finance and regional integration. Syria's participation, though limited to a small delegation, drew significant attention. Al-Sharaa's remarks highlighted Syria's emerging role as an investment destination for infrastructure and logistics linking the Eastern Mediterranean to the Gulf. During one of his recorded interventions at the forum, Al-Sharaa emphasised, "The Syrian people are ready to rebuild their country with full respect for international norms and economic transparency, he further stated that the interim administration had enacted new investment protection laws designed to reassure private investors and streamline licensing for reconstruction projects. Saudi and regional business representatives attending the same panel expressed interest in potential collaborations in energy, housing and logistics, sectors where Saudi Arabia's Vision 2030 investments could complement Syria's rebuilding needs. The renewed Saudi-Syrian engagement also intersects with broader regional realignments. Riyadh's leadership has sought to diversify its diplomatic portfolio, maintaining dialogue with traditional allies while engaging governments that were previously sidelined. Following the Riyadh Declaration of 2024, Arab foreign ministers committed to supporting post-conflict stabilization frameworks and economic integration among member states. The inclusion of the Syrian delegation at the FYI conference is widely viewed as a direct outcome of that policy. Saudi officials have reiterated that normalization with Damascus is conditional on sustained progress toward inclusive governance and regional stability. In return, Syrian authorities have pledged to respect Arab League resolutions and maintain cooperation on counter-terrorism and border control. Observers note that the tone of the Riyadh encounter appeared cordial and business-focused. The footage shows the two leaders exchanging greetings before proceeding to seated discussions. There were no public statements, but officials present indicated that both sides reaffirmed a commitment to deepen bilateral economic dialogue. Saudi media later reported that the Crown Prince welcomed the participation of Syria's interim leadership in the Future Investment Initiative and expressed support for regional reconstruction efforts. Syrian state news channels described the meeting as an important step in restoring Arab cooperation and advancing shared economic interests. Though neither government disclosed details of any agreements or memoranda, diplomatic sources in Riyadh and Damascus confirmed that technical teams from both sides would continue consultations on energy infrastructure and trade facilitation. The meeting has drawn cautious responses from international observers. The United Nations Special Envoy for Syria, in a statement issued the same day, said the engagement underscored the importance of regional cooperation in consolidating Syria's stability. Western officials have welcomed Saudi Arabia's constructive role, but stressed the need for transparency in Syria's reconstruction financing. In Washington, the US State Department acknowledged the meeting, but reiterated that American sanctions related to corruption and human rights abuses remain in effect until comprehensive reforms are achieved. A spokesperson said, "The United States supports any regional initiative that contributes to a sustainable peace in Syria, provided it aligns with international norms." Russia and China, meanwhile, issued statements of support. Moscow's foreign ministry called the Riyadh meeting a logical outcome of Syria's reintegration into the Arab political and economic space. Beijing described the event as an encouraging signal for the multipolar regional development agenda. Back in Damascus, national media hailed Ahmed Al-Sharaa's presence at the Future Investment Initiative as proof of Syria's return to the international arena. State newspapers called the meeting with Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman a turning point for economic diplomacy. Officials from the Syrian Ministry of Reconstruction said the forum discussions would help attract foreign capital, technology and jobs, especially in war-damaged regions. They added that priorities include housing reconstruction, power grid rehabilitation and transport corridors linking Aleppo, Homs and Latakia with Jordan and the Gulf. In his closing remarks, Al-Sharaa stated, "Our responsibility now is to turn political normalization into tangible economic progress." He emphasized that reconstruction must go hand in hand with social reintegration and local governance reforms. The 2025 Future Investment Initiative drew over 6,000 delegates and 500 speakers from government, finance and technology. Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman opened the forum, reaffirming Saudi Arabia's commitment to Vision 2030 and regional stability through economic integration. Syria's participation symbolized the inclusion of post-conflict economies in the Gulf's investment framework. On October 29th, the Syrian delegation attended a plenary session titled Rebuilding Economies Beyond Conflict. Later, Al-Sharaa met the Crown Prince at the Royal Court, followed by evening networking sessions with Gulf investors. No joint statement was issued, consistent with the quiet diplomacy policy adopted since Syria's readmission to the Arab League. Analysts across the region described the meeting as a measured step toward rebuilding trust after years of estrangement. Economists said Syria's participation in an investment-focused event signaled a shift from survival to recovery. Energy experts highlighted prospects for power interconnections and pipeline rehabilitation aligned with Gulf infrastructure plans. Coverage framed the encounter as part of broader Middle East stabilization efforts alongside initiatives in Yemen and Lebanon. As of late October, both Damascus and Riyadh continue diplomatic engagement. Preparations are underway for a technical economic delegation to expand investment dialogue. The next FII conference will feature a post-conflict recovery pavilion, with Syria expected to participate as a full regional partner. The Al-Sharaa bin Salman meeting in Riyadh marks a concrete stage in Syria's reintegration, defined by shared economic priorities and regional recovery, signalling a cautious but steady normalization of Arab ties with the Syrian interim government.